Hello everyone, and welcome back to Killershrewfan's Killer Toy Reviews, and big news! Thanks to all of you, I recently passed 1900 subscribers on the channel! Woo! It means a lot to have your ever-growing support, and to celebrate, I figured now was as good a time as any to start reviewing a new line on the channel. It's the incredibly popular Beasts of the Mesozoic Ceratopsian line. Now, originally I wasn't too invested in David Silva's ever-growing catalog of posable dinosaur figures. Don't get me wrong, I thought the work was incredible, I just wasn't sure if it was for me. I didn't get a single raptor from his original series, and I was debating for a while whether or not I wanted to start collecting yet another line with his Ceratopsians. I had always planned to get at least one, maybe two of the less flamboyantly colored offerings, but actually collecting the line was never on my radar. But as rave reviews kept pouring in, I decided I needed to give it a try. I actually ended up getting the Styracosaurus as my first Beast of the Mesozoic offering, and whereas I did end up enjoying that model a good deal, it didn't exactly win me over and convince me to go forward with the line. So I figured with the remaining holiday gift money I had, I would buy the most affordable offering from the line and see if it changed my mind. Enter the Beasts of the Mesozoic Zuniceratops. Retailing for $29.99 plus shipping, this is the most accessible figure in the series, and I figured instead of buying yet another Amber Collection Velociraptor repaint for that price, I would try something new. So let's go ahead and take a look at this figure and decide once and for all whether or not I'm going to need to start buying more. But first, the packaging. I think the display of this figure in the box is wonderful. Even though these are geared towards more mature collectors, it harkens back to those nostalgic toy boxes with the plastic window display showing off the figure within. You can see there is a removable sleeve that comes on the box displaying a beautiful digital painting of Zuniceratops, as well as titles indicating the standard 1/18 scale and the Beasts of the Mesozoic Ceratopsian series branding at the top with that striking metallic red trim. The top of the sleeve tells you what you can expect from the box, a figure of Zuniceratops with 19 points of articulation for realistic movement, and a profile card. This is figure 1 from Wave 1, then on the back of the sleeve you've got some more information on Zuniceratops, so if you'd like to give that a read, feel free to pause the video and have a look. The back of the box also features a catalog of the Wave 1 releases. You've got the 1/6 scale Protoceratops and Psittacosaurus, then the 1/18 figures available are the Medusaceratops, Diabloceratops, Subadult Triceratops, Styracosaurus, Nasutoceratops, Chasmosaurus, and of course today's subject, the Zuniceratops. The top of the box features the brand logo once more, as well as a 15 years and older indicator. And then the side has the logo alongside a wonderful negative render of the series mascot, the Triceratops. Alright, enough about the packaging, let's zoomy and get this Zuni. So there is the Zuniceratops, and you can see that it does come disassembled. Here's a look at the collector's card with that gorgeous sleeve artwork, and included with that is a little instruction booklet on how to install the tail of your Ceratopsian using hot water. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and I'll be right back. So there is a nice 360-degree view of the Zuniceratops all in one piece, and what a fool I have been! All the wasted months hemming and hawing over this line, uncertain of whether or not it was for me. I'll be honest guys, after I put this thing together, I just sat and fiddled with it for a good 15 minutes before getting back to the review. I did not want to put it down. The articulation on this thing is so much fun. Honestly, I prefer models in my collection, I just think they're nicer to look at, but the inner child in me has returned and is delighted to have a figure that is both gorgeous to look at and can also be messed with and posed in unique ways. And speaking of gorgeous to look at, let's go in for a closer look at this Zuniceratops. So starting off at the head, the first thing that grabs me would be the striking yellow eyes. There's a lot of life and character to those eyes, and seating them against that blue really makes them pop and come to life. The next thing I notice would be the treatment of the horns and beak. There's not really sculpted weathering per se, but the washes of brown over them really gives them a weathered and lived-in appearance, which is key for me when it comes to creating a realistic model. Then of course there's the scale work. You can see that the entire surface area of this head is covered in scales that grow in size the further they get from the eye. It's an absolutely commendable level of work. Yeah, the detail work on this thing is just amazing. I mean, it might be hard to see, but there are actual teeth sculpted into the mouth. I watched reviews thinking, no way, that's just paint. But no, it's an actual sculpted detail, which is super impressive given the size we're dealing with here. The frill looks gorgeous from a head-on view with that incredible splash of colors, and I think those two brow horns make this Zuni look quite intimidating head-on. So yeah, the head on this figure, an absolute slam dunk. As we move down the body, you can see some lovely forms beneath all of that lovely scale work, including bunching up skin in the throat and around the shoulders, gut, and thighs, and like I said, it's all been adorned in those very well-defined scales. Even with the darker coloration in some areas, all of that work is still so easy to discern, which is fantastic. I will say it doesn't strike me as the entirely quote-unquote typical ceratopsian skin pattern, which is present on some of the other figures in the line, but I'm sure there is a method to the madness that I am just not privy to. Regardless, it's well done, looks good, and feels great in the hand. You can see that even the back of the frill has been treated with uneven scale work. Not a speck of space has been left unattended to on this thing. Going along the underside, you can see the muscles in the lower jaws, as well as the hanging bunched up skin in the throat. The pectorals feature some lovely skin folds around the limbs, and you can see that the style of scale detail is a bit different in general down here on the underbelly. You have got a cloaca slit just before the cut around the tail, which, yay I guess, and the scale work continues all the way down the wonderfully shaped ceratopsian tail. Taking a dorsal look at the figure, you can get another look at those gorgeous horns, as well as the patterning David has gone with for the paint scheme on this figure, which we'll be getting into shortly. The feet of the figure feature the correct number of digits, with the 3 weight-bearing inner digits having some nice brown nails while the other 2 remain bare. The musculature has also been very well rendered. Granted, certain compromises have to be made to accommodate the points of articulation, but by and large these still feel like powerful functioning limbs, especially when you look at those incredibly beefy thighs. All in all, I think the sculpt work on this figure is incredible. I found myself worried that the plastic cutouts would distract or detract from the overall look, but honestly, I find myself not even registering them when I look at it as a whole, especially when you get some cool and unique poses going on the figure. And speaking of that, let's talk about the articulation. This figure boasts of 19 points, so count them with me. First up, we've got the mouth that can open and close ever so slightly. This is a common critique, and I share it. I wish that the lower mandible could close flush with the upper jaw. I mean, even with the jaw movement, this thing is always stuck in an opened mouth roaring position, which feels like we're not taking full advantage of the whole articulation thing. Still, it's enough of a change to give the model some new energy. Then you can move the head up and down and slightly side to side at the base of the skull. Then again at the base of the neck with a ball and socket joint. The midpoint of the body features a point of twisting rotation, but not really an up or down movement, which I kind of would have liked. The front legs can go forward and back. And have some in and out movement like the Mattel limbs. There's an elbow joint that can be moved forward and back and also rotated in and out. And the same goes for the ankles, which can be posed up or down and slightly rotated. The back legs are a similar story. They can rotate forward a good deal and can go inward and slightly outward, just like the front legs. The knees have a joint for movement, but like the jaw, it is very limited, which is kind of unfortunate. And then the ankles can rotate forward and swivel around, and the feet can also be moved. Then for a final point of articulation, you've got the tail, which can twist and turn side to side and up and down. So yeah, for those of you keeping score, that's 19 points of articulation, and even if I wouldn't mind a little more range of motion, they still allow you to get some very active, fluid poses. You know how I often say an articulated jaw can completely alter the energy of a model? Well, turns out 19 points of articulation can do so much more. There's character in this figure that cannot be found anywhere else. You can make him defensive and standoffish, calm and curious, or just plain content, and it's so much fun to just play with it and pose it in interesting ways. As far as the paint scheme goes, if you watch my channel, there are two big no-nos for me when it comes to coloration. First up, I like the application and colors to be somewhat naturalistic. I don't like garish, clashing color schemes that have a distinctly painted-on appearance. Second of all, I don't like it when colors and patterns of extant animals are deliberately copied onto dinosaur models. Well, David does both of those things with his Beast of the Mesozoic series, drawing inspiration from birds, amphibians, lizards, and snakes to get the job done. For the Zuniceratops, he looked at 5-lined skinks. Now, despite my predisposition, I actually think this is a gorgeous-looking model in terms of paint. I'm not going to lie, the style is going to keep me from getting some of the other figures, but here, I love the look of it. It manages to blur the line between realism and action figure, looking naturalistic even with its graphic design. I also love how well all of the paintwork, particularly the dry brushing, highlights the details all across the figure, and I think having the bolder colors of orange, yellow, and that teal and blue be reserved for the frill and tail worked to perfectly balance the design. Now for some measurements, bearing in mind that length and height can change depending on the pose you go with, this Zuniceratops comes in at around 8 3/4 inches or so in a fairly stretched out pose, or around 22 centimeters, and stands in at 4 1/4 inches off of the ground, or just under 11 centimeters to the tops of the horns with the head raised. Now, this figure is advertised as being 1/18 scale, but some members of the community threw me a curveball saying it's a bit too big for that. Doing some research, I couldn't find a straight answer for how big Zuniceratops was, with some posts saying only 7 feet long, while David claims it's about 11.5 feet on the box. Perhaps there's a ceratopsian expert in the house who could clarify things for me, but either way, that's quite the disparity, and depending on which one you abide by, it will vastly affect the scale of this figure. Now, my first exposure to Zuniceratops was in When Dinosaurs Roamed America, when John Goodman likened them to the size of a cow. With that in mind, I think I'll defer to the 11.5 feet measurement, which would put this figure around 1/16 scale. So yeah, a little bigger than the advertised 1/18 range. If you were to go by the low-end estimates of 7 feet, this figure would be around 1/10 scale, so I guess Pick your poison. This Zuniceratops isn't in 1/18 scale no matter what you do. But then again, scale has never been something I care a great deal about in my collection. For size comparison, this is kinda weird. I don't have any other Zuniceratops figures, so I don't really know what to do. I guess I'll start off by bringing my Carnage Collection Resaurus Styracosaurus figure in, which, fun fact for you, this is the only figure I still have from my childhood collection of dinosaurs. I genuinely do not know how it was spared from a Goodwill bin all of these years, but it's nice to still have. Yeah, these Carnage figures were the portent of the beasts of the Mesozoic line, but they are infamous for being fragile. In point of fact, mine there has a fixed jaw because it had to be glued back on during my childhood. Regardless, it is nice to see the evolution of this type of figure over the years. Next up, let's go ahead and bring in some other ceratopsian figures. David himself is fond of using the Papo dinosaurs as a size comparison in his social media posts, so here is the Zuni with the Papo ceratopsian gang. You've got the Styracosaurus, Pachyrhinosaurus, Triceratops, and the Pnso, all of whom have a counterpart in the beasts of the Mesozoic ceratopsian range. And next up, here it is with the Pitch Perfect Safari Ltd Triceratops offering from their 2018 lineup, and you can see that these two are actually pretty similar in terms of their size. And for a final ceratopsian comparison, here it is with Pnso's Doyle the Triceratops. Yeah, Pnso's popular right now, aren't they? You can see that Doyle is a bit larger than the Zuniceratops, but not nearly as eye-catching in its presentation. These two are also kindred spirits because neither of their jaw articulations is that impressive. Now let's get into some Mattel comparisons for all you Jurassic World fans out there. First up, we've got the superposable Indoraptor, and you can see that it absolutely towers over the Zuniceratops here. However, the make and finish are night and day. For a mere $10 more, this Zuniceratops has a better paint application and much better quality. Of course, the Indoraptor is more for kids since it's part of their standard line, so this might not be the best comparison. But you know what would be? Yep, we're bringing in the Amber Collection Velociraptor by Mattel. This is undeniably the line that's geared more towards collectors, and whereas I do like that Velociraptor figure a good deal, you cannot tell me that Mattel can't do better with the line at the price point they have it at. I mean, the proof is right there. These figures both cost $29.99, but one of them is superior in every way, from details and paint to plastic quality. So yeah, going forward for me, the choice between the two lines is an obvious one. And real quick, here it is with the Amber Collection Ian Malcolm, who some may argue might be more in scale. Honestly, I just like seeing them together because it looks like the Zuniceratops has imprinted on Malcolm and now he does not know what to do with it. That's a story I would love to see. The whole bumpy thing from Camp Cretaceous, but with Ian Malcolm instead of a kid. And for a final comparison, here it is with Chris Pratt from the 3 3/4 inch line, and I gotta say, I love seeing these two together. The Zuniceratops might be a little oversized to scale well, especially if you go by the lower size estimates, but I don't care. This is fun for me. And there you have it, everyone. That is going to do it for my first Beasts of the Mesozoic Ceratopsian review. I absolutely adore this Zuniceratops, and it has 100% convinced me that I need to get myself more from the line. The sculpt work is beautiful, the paint is eye-catching and well applied, and the posing you get with that articulation is next level fun. Honestly, going forward, I may have to phase out Mattel in favor of this, but I don't think I would regret it one bit. This is an awesome figure, 100% dynamite. If you're like me and are kind of on the fence about the line, then this is definitely a good one to start with, since it's so affordable relative to some of the larger offerings, but still showcases everything the line has to offer. As for me, I've already got the Styracosaurus ordered, which would be the last of Wave 1 that I had initial interest in, and am now waiting with bated breath for Wave 2 and 3, even if it's going to wind up putting me in the poorhouse. Post-recording update, the Styracosaurus has arrived. As always, I want to know what you guys think of this figure. Do you own it yet? Are you planning on picking it up? What's your favorite offering from Wave 1? Which figure are you most excited for from Waves 2 and 3? And which one do you think I should get? Also, let me know what you all think I should do to celebrate 2,000 subscribers when the time comes. Collection update, giveaway, list, live stream? I know it may happen later rather than sooner, but it never hurts to be prepared. Drop a comment down below on your way out, and thank you all so much for tuning into this review. If you're one of those 1,900 subscribers, an extra big thanks to you. It really does mean a lot, and I hope you will all keep tuning in and supporting my ever-growing channel. I've got a lot more Pnso reviews planned in the immediate future, and now it looks like I have yet another line to worry about as well. Thanks again for stopping by, and be sure to take care out there. Killershrewfan, out.